State University, Monterey Bay.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm Jess Christian, and I'm a student at Plymouth State University, and I work in the collab with Robin.
Awesome.
I'm Benjamin Dockstader. I teach grade 8 and 9 English at the International School of Brussels.
Very cool.
I'm Clarissa Sorensen Unruh, and I'm at Central New Mexico Community College, and I teach chemistry and statistics.
At the same time?
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. Okay, our offsite guests. Let's hear from Vanessa. What's your name, Vanessa?
Well, it's Vanessa, and I'm in Yuma, Colorado, and it's good to see so many. I've been missing a lot of these. It's good to see so many familiar faces. Hello, George.
Hi, Vanessa. Good to
Yeah, last session I got to see Bonnie, and hello, Robin.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm doing FTTE forum later, so it's definitely my day to be online.
Awesome. Okay, sorry, John?
Hi, I'm John Stewart. I'm at the University of Oklahoma in our Office of Digital Learning.
Awesome. Welcome. Regina?
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
My name is my name is Regina Gong. I am the OER and Student Success Librarian at Michigan State University.
Welcome, welcome. Let's see who else. Lorna, please.
Hi there, my name is Lorna Campbell, and I manage the Open Education Resources Service here at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland.
Welcome, welcome. Sheila?
Hi everyone, I'm Sheila McNeil. I'm also in Scotland, but I think probably the other side of the country just now from Lorna. I'm based in Glasgow, and I'm an independent consultant in digital learning. Yeah.
Welcome, thank you for coming. Jared?
My name is Jared Quinn. I'm right in the middle of the U.S., Columbia, Missouri. I'm at the University of Missouri, and I'm an instructional designer here.
I love the cactus shirt.
It's a good cactus shirt day.
Yeah, I guess cacti. Sharon?
Hi, I'm Sharon Flynn. I'm joining you from Galway in the west of Ireland. I think you just saw a tour of my house because I realized that my phone was nearly out of charge, so I had to come up to plug in. I work with the Irish Universities Association, where I am project manager for a national project on enhancing digital teaching and learning.
Fabulous, welcome. And Sybil, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sorry I've blacked out my screen. I'm having a little bit of a migraine, so I thought I would just darken everything in my room today.
No worries.
I'm coming to you from North Dakota, Wahpeton, North Dakota. I teach at NDSCS, the North Dakota State College of Science. I teach college composition and creative writing there, and it's really cool to see so many people on the screen who I follow. I like a stealth little person on Twitter, so it's very cool to see so many people who I stalk.
Awesome. And the man holding it all together, Greg, tell us who you are.
You're going to talk about yourself.
No, God, no.
Hi, I'm Greg McVeary, and I'm sitting in East Haddam, Connecticut. I am what everyone comes second in professors, assistant or so, one of those twos. I'm an A professor at Southern Connecticut State University, where I study literacies and just playing online and being digital and having fun and trying to be fun. That's me.
Thank you. Okay, I have a question for the on-site folks. We are all super jealous of all the goings on there. Tell us something bad about what's happening there so that we're not so jealous.
It almost rained last night.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's bloody hot. I mean, really. Yeah, for sure. I got nothing.
So we are, okay, that's enough bad stuff.
I got something I could share.
Okay.
We can't be part of every track.
Oh, that's true.
That's the upsetting thing.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. Not all of the songs we were looking for at karaoke last night were available. There's that.
These are pretty big problems.
We already had a conversation with Bonnie about the karaoke, and she said it was never to be mentioned again.
Never came pretty fast.
So I've been had crazy things going on with elsewhere in my life this week. Can someone just get me up to speed on how things are going there? Where we are in the whole situation. Almost done. What's going on?
I'll speak briefly about the open pedagogy track.
Okay.
With Rajiv. It's been pretty amazing. I thought maybe we had kind of a slow start on Monday morning and just kind of getting our momentum going, but then things just started to blossom and happen. And today, our walls are completely full. We had, I think, a hive mind thing literally happened today as we kind of progressed from concepts of just OER and textbooks to the broader ideas about open pedagogy and so on throughout the week. And by today, we're doing some pretty broad concepts, including I'm going to say, forbidden area of assessment. I'm into teaching and learning, but not as much into assessment. And everybody even engaged with that today. And I think we have some great ideas that will bear fruit and come out tomorrow, probably in more concrete form.
Yeah, so we're 4 days in at this point. Real highlight early in the week for many of us was Ruha Benjamin's keynote, which hopefully you've had a chance to catch online. If you hadn't, you really should. It was among the most impressive keynotes I've ever seen. And even if you watch how she handled the questions at the end of it, it was jaw-dropping and impressive. So I think we've been really fortunate to have people like her, Sarah Goldrick-Raab, and of course the other people who've been popping into your sessions. And a real mix, quite an abundance, I feel, of both graduate and undergraduate students among us, which has been really enriching.
Thanks for mentioning that. The student presence has been like overwhelmingly positive this week, and we need to do more of that.
Speaking of students, what do you think?
I am having fun. I get the sense that my track is pretty emergent. When I talk to other people, we don't really have really intense content. I mean,
Maybe say what track you're in.
Oh, sorry. I'm in education agency and change with Naomi De La Torre and also Elna Riva, who is teaching from the UK through Zoom because she had emergency at home. So that's been interesting. But yeah, we don't really have content, and like our instructor hasn't talked more than any of us really at all. She hasn't stood at all either, and she doesn't sit in the front of the room. The only time she stood up is to make a point and to see how different it is when she stands up. And I'm super enjoying it because I love emergence. But other people, there's like we've all been kind of like, the people that aren't so great with emergence are like getting into it and embracing it. And I really like that, I think that brings us together more. We had a show and tell yesterday, yes, which I got the sense was instructors were supposed to sit at tables and talk about their course. And I was like, what are we gonna do with that? Because we spent the week breaking down hierarchies, and then to send one authority out to represent our experience in this class feels weird to me. And so we talked about that, and we ended up coming up with like a slide deck where we each made slides about representing what our experience has been in the class so far, and took some of the questions we've been thinking about and put them on the table, and said, like, if one of these speaks to you, you can take one, but leave a question. And we also sat with Naomi, and then sometimes she left the table, and we just talked about the class. I think we were the only ones that did that, I'm not sure, but I didn't see, and which we switched out because like we want to go see other tracks. So I understand like why that setup is like that, but I think it's interesting to question.
How about you? You want to talk towards social justice?
Yeah, it's been an amazing course to Like just like hearing all the things Sarah Goldberg knows, it's mind blowing. I'm Canadian. I live in Europe, so I don't have as keen an insight into exactly the problems going on in America, and it is disturbing. It's also hopeful seeing the kind of work she's actively doing. She's somebody who doesn't just study the stuff theoretically. She's actively doing the work. So that has been incredible. Yeah, absolutely.
So now I'm back to being super jealous again. Robin, you just showed up today, is that right?
I got here like an hour ago.
Oh, so tell me about your hour.
My hour's been very rich. It's also very interesting juxtaposition with the conference that I was at before this, which was much more sort of classic ed tech. So there's a little whiplash involved with that paradigm shift. And yeah, so normally I think DPL fosters kind of a, you don't just sort of blow in and keynote and blow out, but the keynote that I'll be giving later today came from a moment of inspiration at a DPL a couple of years ago where I just got struck by the question of going home from DPL and a sort of crisis moment where I thought, what is this amounting to, right? These transformative moments, how are we bringing them back and what structural impact are they having, if any? And was feeling quite depressed about that. So even though I just got here now, I feel like there's sort of a richness of DPL stuff in my head that I hope will be kind of the focus of what I talk about later today.
Fabulous. Does any of the offsite guests want to ask these fabulous people any questions?
I have one.
Go for it.
Yeah, so for those of you who've been to DPL multiple times, what is the vibe this year? Is there any difference from the previous years that you've been an attendee or a facilitator or faculty? The conversations, and just the whole like vibe about the things that is being talked about.
Let's see. I'll maybe let others. I'll defer to others on, what is being talked about. But as far as the vibe and the overall sense of community, I think it's started strong. I went first in 2015, then 2017, and this year. So like every other year. But there was a sense of community that first year, but it was very welcoming, I found. I think that's still true, but I'm kind of on the other side of that line now. So my perception is different about it. And I'm hoping that spirit is still pervading it. But I know in talking to Jesse and Sean, I felt like I was not being welcomed into a community. I truly felt like I was part of a community, both social and academic, scholarly community as well. But also, maybe this year, there's a little more spirit of rebellion and resistance, if I can use those words, with what's going on in higher education and what we're doing here. I'm sensing a little bit more of that this year.
So I've only attended 2 satellite events before in Toronto and Vancouver, and that's a bit different because those are shorter events. So one of the things I've noticed is, of course, with 5 days, you're able to go so much further. It feels much less rushed. But in terms of the place, I think whether it's the number of tracks, the number of people, the degree of, or the generosity of the hospitality, it's felt more warm, more supportive, more freeing, and where people have the freedom to sort of do things the way they want. Of course, anyway, you can switch tracks if you want, if it's not working for you. But for me, it's felt more positive, but I'm not sure whether that's just having more time to build and enjoy that community, but this has been really very positive experience.
I have a bit of a different perspective just because I'm one of like 6 STEM people here. And so we're trying to kind of build the STEM piece, but at the moment it's very humanities oriented. And so there's a lot of discussion that we have to have of like, well, these are really awesome ideas and we still have to get through a fair amount of our content. So how are we going to make this work? And a lot of almost shadow campaigns that we're deciding to run in our classes to make it happen the way we want it to happen. And so, but that's taking a lot of deconstructing on the side. So there's a lot of welcoming moments, but not a lot of content that's specifically towards our situation. And that hopefully will change in the future. And we're fully committed to doing it. It just takes a little bit more of a different lens.
I think we've had that conversation too at DPL about K-12 as well. And, you know, I just got here, but, you know, I think DPL has made it clear what its investments are, but that doesn't make it quite so easy to operationalize and then make those transferences because, you know, especially like, and I work mostly in open, and when you transfer over to K-12, a lot of things change, right? The frameworks, but also the, you know, the practicalities and you know, and I live in the US, but so, you know, I think we're still definitely seeing, and I know you guys have like a community college kind of breakout.
Yeah.
And same thing with the CCs, I think. There's a lot of CC participants, I think, and Sarah's kind of a great voice there too. But the question of how all of those, like when they'll sort of become more embedded is maybe still open.
Yeah, there's a lot of community college people here. They're in fact having a lunch, but it's not real organized, and it's we're very much part of everything else, which is absolutely the way it should be. But if there's tracks that are research focused, we probably avoided them, even though that might have been the most helpful track for what we were actually thinking about. So like, for instance, Bonnie's track is really, as many of you heard, is really like digital scholarship. We don't think a lot about digital scholarship because we're not required to write or publish. But because of that, like Bonnie's a really great expert on how to think about some things digitally, especially when it comes towards the idea of getting your stuff out there. And so, and how to interact and do those kinds of pieces. And so I know some of my STEM friends would have really benefited from her track. Like, why didn't you ask me before you signed up for the track? So it's kind of one of those moments.
Was one of the differences, was anyone over here at the weekend intensive? Oh, Ben, so do you want to mention that?
Yeah, the weekend intensive was, it was great to really get to foundational issues in critical pedagogy. A lot of them were texts that I've read before in different ways, bell hooks and Paulo Freire, but it was great to really drill back into those like sort of more fundamental layers and have those discussions. And I feel like a part of the critical pedagogy stance is to always revisit that and to not sort of feel like sure that you got everything to get, and the ways that the political context of the moment can help you reinterpret them. So yeah, I think the camp thing was great. So I would highly recommend the 2-day camp if it ever comes up again.
Aren't you exhausted though?
Yeah.
I mean, is your brain like, everyone I know who went to the camp and the lab is just gone.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not saying you're gone, but
No,
like, it's just exhausted.
Yeah,
right?
it's tiring, but it also feels like one of those once in a lifetime opportunities to be in the room with those people discussing those things is so invigorating. And just the general, like as for the vibe, it's so cool to be in a spot where you see people that you know from Twitter and like they just walk by you at lunch and say hi, and it's a really nice space to be in.
May I add one thing about the STEM question or issue, or because I've crossed disciplines.
Yeah. I mean, you certainly have something to say about that.
Yeah, and it is something that I thought about earlier, but I got sort of subsumed in the humanities, social science aspect of DPL. But at first, I'm going to say early on in like the previous years, I did notice it's like, hey, you know, we're doing digital this and digital that, but there don't seem to really be any computer scientists running around, or
Right.
or even any, you know, and there are some network people, as in computer networks, as distinct from computer scientists. But I thought of it as kind of, well, you know, is nobody being invited, or are people not seeing it of interest, or what? And I think it would be of interest. So maybe it's a way that maybe DPL hasn't found a way, or I'm going to say we now, because we are the community, need to find a way to be more inclusive in that sense.
Right.
And I know in the open pedagogy track, we've been talking about who's in and who's out, inclusion and exclusion, but we didn't quite get to that issue. So maybe it's something to continue.
Can I just ask, I mean, I think it's a really interesting discussion. And I think what's great about V-Connecting is for people like, you know, myself, who are probably never ever going to get to Digital Pedagogy Lab, but it's great to, you know, get a bit of the vibe. In terms of inclusion and kind of extending that community, because in a way, I think when we do these sessions, I kind of feel that I'm coming into the community and there are people that I know, and that's fantastic. But I just wonder, do you think there's ways we could, or there are ways that some of the sessions could be extended more to bring some people who can't get there in person? Or do you think that actually the power of the community is just the fact that you're all there in that space? Because I kind of understand the power that brings. But do you think in terms of, I suppose, just extending what we're all doing and how we all participate and how we all share, that this would actually, to me, it seems like this would be a really great place to try and push some boundaries there as well?
Yes.
I was also wondering if it could be a themed track, so the theme would not be online, but something themed that would just meet through Zoom synchronously during DPL, and then could potentially also cross over into other tracks. It's another way of thinking about it, as opposed to just having like 2 people on a Zoom in a class that's very much set up for face-to-face participants. Instead, having those Zoom people come in when it's easy to Zoom, because I'm always conscious of the fact that when you Zoom someone into something that's really coordinated around a face-to-face architecture, it can feel almost more alienating. But it would be pretty cool. I don't see why there couldn't be a track that was sort of meeting via Zoom, zooming into the keynotes, occasionally crossing into jumping into another track or something. I think that would be super cool.
And just as a thought, Sheila, the DPL is actually coming to the UK in April of next year. So should you want to actually participate face-to-face, you might have an opportunity.
Yeah, that would be good, because they did that before, didn't it? I don't think I make it. Yeah, I will do my best to get there.
What are your perceptions, all of you online, of like from following the hashtag on Twitter about what's going on? Like what's catching what makes you want to be here?
Yeah. I mean, the hashtag's great. I mean, I think just because of the time difference a bit, I'm kind of, I see things and I'm kind of, you know, I can go back and get it, look at things. Sometimes just, you know, the practicalities of life, you kind of miss it. But, you know, that again, that's fantastic that, you know, that is being shared. But obviously there's so much that's just happening there with the discussions. And obviously I understand that that's very difficult to share wider. It was just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following the hashtag all week as well. And again, you know, Sheila said, with the time difference, I'm doing it more asynchronously. So when I come in the morning, you know, I check the hashtag to see what I missed overnight and start retweeting things in. So it's a very different kind of experience. But I think you do certainly get a flavour of it. And yeah, I mean, I would certainly agree that, you know, anything that can certainly bringing people in externally does change the dynamic significantly. And I think you do have to think a bit harder about how you include people. But I think given that you're already having these conversations about inclusion and exclusion, then it does strike me that Digital Pedagogy Lab is very much the community and the space where it should be possible to push these boundaries, to have these different conversations, you know, across international time zones, and, you know, regardless whether you're in the room or out of the rooms. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that develops, I think, over future events.
And I think also what's important, it would be a safe space if things didn't go quite as expected as well, you know, that you've got a supportive community there. So I think people would understand and would be much more open to trying things out as well.
Yeah, I agree.
We're pretty much right up against the wall for time. I think people have to get to tracks to start at 1 or
1:30.
1:30. Okay, but we don't want to take up all your whole day. Oh, thanks, Greg. We need to do the outro. I just saw your comment. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. That was a fabulous conversation. I'm still jealous that I'm not there, but I'm glad I got this opportunity. I just want to see the pink blazer up close. Actually,
Sorry.
Yeah, can we have a fashion show? Look at that blazer. That's amazing.
Oh yeah,
It's
I love
the
it.
best blazer ever.
I could never carry off that color, but I mean, all of anyone who can.
I
It's
would
fab-
try it. I would try anyway.
And black all the way.